Hey, welcome to EPN. My name is Victor Lucas, and we bring you the latest in everything cool every single day, thanks in a large part to our pals at the VFS School of Game Design. Thank you so much, Vancouver Film School. Now, this rundown is dedicated to Matthew Jacobs, who is now in 12th grade, has been watching us since 6th grade. That's awesome. Matthew, this rundown is all yours. The NES Classic isn't the only way to get a huge pile of retro video games. Mossmouth Games, the indie publisher behind the hit platformer Spelunky, has unveiled an all-new project titled UFO 50. It's not just one game, it's an anthology collection of 50 new games, each offering a retro 8-bit aesthetic inspired by classic 80s games. It looks like they're covering every conceivable genre from that era, including side-scrollers, top-down RPGs, adventure games, sports games, and anything else you can think of. Every game will have a single-player component, and some, but not all, will have either cooperative or competitive multiplayer modes as well. It sounds like it will take a while to play all of them. The developers say that in general, each game is only slightly smaller than real 80s games, so they're not just micro games or mini games. They estimate that completing the entire collection could easily take over 100 hours, although we're sure there are speedrunners who could get through it a lot quicker. UFO 50 is slated to launch to the PC next year, with the developers planning to port it to other platforms sometime after that. Netflix has turned a new page in their quest for global domination. The streaming giant has bought the comic publisher Millarworld, founded by famed comic book author Mark Millar. This means that Netflix now owns all the comics published by Millarworld, including Wanted and Kick-Ass, similar to how Time Warner owns DC Comics and Disney owns Marvel. In a statement, Mark Millar says that he decided to sell his company to Netflix because he sees the streaming giant as the future of entertainment, and together they plan to create new movies and television shows based on the Millarworld properties. They haven't said what Millarworld comics they plan to adapt first, and it's also unclear if the film rights to all of the Millarworld comics are included in the deal, as some of them might still be owned by other studios. We do know that this is the first time Netflix has acquired a smaller company, something that's common for big entertainment conglomerates, and is further indication that Netflix wants to position itself as a bigger player in the multimedia industry. Buying Millarworld is also a good way for them to expand their library of owned franchises and gives them plenty of material to draw from as they create more and more original programming. Another interesting aspect of this story is that as Millarworld continues to publish new books, it means that Netflix is now a comic publisher. You know, we'll be paying close attention to this story as it develops. And in other comic book news, Netflix ain't got nothing on cable. The makers of Deadpool 2 have released the first official images of Josh Brolin in costume as the heavily armed mutant Cable. Yep, he looks like Cable. The character is a powerful mutant soldier from the future, and in the comics he's often paired with Deadpool, causing his serious, no-nonsense personality to clash with the wisecracking mercenary. That means you can expect plenty of Odd Couple-style humor between Josh Brolin and Ryan Reynolds in the new film. Deadpool 2 is currently shooting in Vancouver and will hit theaters next summer. The jury is still out about whether or not the last Judge Dredd will return. Karl Urban, star of the 2012 Dredd movie, has revealed that he's in talks to reprise the role in the upcoming TV series based on the franchise.
Let's talk.
Urban made the announcement while speaking to audiences at the recent Star Trek convention in Las Vegas, where he said that he's had discussions with the makers of the show, and if they write material that does the character justice, he'd love to return. That's all he's said for now, so we'll have to wait and see how these deliberations proceed.
Negotiations over.
The new Judge Dredd TV series was first announced last year, with some of the rights holders behind the 2012 film involved in the development, but it was unclear until now if it would have any other relation to the movie. If Karl Urban does reprise the role, it would essentially make the show the sequel that fans of the film have been waiting for.
Let's give him a good news.
The 2012 Dredd movie failed to meet box office expectations during its theatrical run, but has found a large cult following ever since on home media. Rumors about a sequel have been swirling ever since, so hopefully the show doesn't disappoint. We'll let you know when the verdict comes in.
Thanks for the heads up.
As long as they don't bring back Stallone's version of the character, we're good.
I am the law!
We're having a pretty hot summer right now, but that doesn't mean frozen wilds aren't on the horizon. Sony has announced that the Frozen Wilds, the first big expansion for their open-world game Horizon Zero Dawn, will launch on November 7th. First announced earlier this summer at E3, the DLC gives players a new story campaign that takes them to a new, more chilly location, the titular Frozen Wilds, situated to the north of the existing game world. That means there will be new robotic beasts for you to slay, along with new weapons and gear to uncover. Developer Guerrilla Games says that many of the new ideas they're putting into the Frozen Wilds were things that they came up with as they were wrapping up development of the main game, so hopefully it will give players a memorable experience that's worth them jumping back in. More new details about the expansion will be announced soon. In Canada, it will cost $27.
I'm here for the mountain. For answers.
And another big open-world game is going online and getting microtransactions in the process. The Lord of the Rings-inspired game Middle-earth: Shadow of War is getting a new online mode called Social Conquest. Here's how it works. In the single-player game, you'll be able to invade enemy fortresses and claim them for yourself, putting your own people in charge and upgrading them as you see fit. Now, developer Monolith Productions has revealed that in the new online mode, you'll be able to enter other people's games and attempt to invade and conquer their fortresses. Other players will be able to invade your fortresses as well, so you'll have to be on the lookout. The mode will be available in a high-stakes ranked version or a less competitive friendly version. Here's where the microtransactions come in. Monolith is introducing an online market system where players will be able to use real-life money to buy in-game gold, which can then be used to purchase loot chests, which contain randomized gear, war chests, which give you a random assortment of new orc followers, and XP boosts, which level up your character. This, like other microtransaction systems, sounds a lot like pay to win and is already making some players very anxious. So we'll let you know what Monolith does next. Middle-earth: Shadow of War arrives this October. It looks like audiences might not be getting another new trip to the town of Twin Peaks. Another new season in the cult series from David Lynch probably won't happen after the current one is finished. That's according to Showtime president David Nevins. Speaking with the Television Critics Association, Nevins says that they haven't had any conversations with Lynch about making another new season after this one, and he doesn't think it will happen, although it's not impossible.
He's dead.
Nevins says that it's up to Lynch if they make another season, but they won't even start talking about it until this one is finished.
What the hell?
It's currently 13 episodes through an 18-episode run, and given that there was a 26-year gap between the second and third seasons, don't hold your breath for more. It's also unclear exactly how the new season will end. The story so far has been pretty unpredictable, to say the least, so it's impossible to know if David Lynch will even leave the door open for another round.
Drink full. And his hand.
Showtime is still very happy with the current season. David Nevins says that although the show is only a modest success on traditional airwaves, it's a huge hit on their various streaming platforms and has helped grow their subscriber count exponentially. TV networks have started to focus more heavily on streaming platforms, and shows like Twin Peaks, which have a less traditional tone that usually appeals to online audiences, have a big role to play in that transition. The final episode of the new season will air on the Labor Day weekend. That's it for the rundown. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to learn more about game design, visit our pals at VFS.edu. We got to leave you until tomorrow, but watch some of the other content that we've made, all right? And if you like it, hit subscribe.